that grief is something that can be easily fixed by replacing the loss. Just get another fish, just get another cat, just get another dog, you'll be all right. But the person that's lost that animal doesn't feel like that because it feels like a family member oftentimes. So one thing that is great to be able to do, and I'll give you context of who I am. I'm actually a chaplain, and I do lots of funerals. And I just did the funeral for Owen's brother the other day. You may not have known about Owen's brother, you probably did. And so they've had a lot of loss already recently. And I actually did the funeral for Kim's dad a few years ago. I officiated the wedding for Owen and Kim. And so pretty much, other than the wedding, whenever something sad happens in their life, they say, hey, can you come? And I'm like, come on, man, invite me to a party. Well, this is actually a celebration. It's a celebration of life, a celebration of Oscar, a celebration of all the relationships he's had with other dogs and people, and just a celebration of dogs and life in general. But it's also important that we acknowledge the grief that's associated with loss and death. And so I know Kim's going to share some things, and any of you that want to share stories or things, if you know some cool things about Oscar, feel free to bring those up. But even just sharing things about how much it impacts you and how sad it is that you've had to say goodbye to someone else's dog, that's perfectly acceptable to share as well. So it doesn't have to just be, let's think of happy things. You can share how you're feeling. But thank you again for being here. And do you want to talk first, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll talk first.
All right, so I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. All right. So it's going to be a little longer because once I started writing, I'm like, it just turned out a little longer. But it's better than working out, right? Thanks again for coming today. You know, it does mean a lot. And I know you're my people because you guys aren't thinking this is weird or anything. And, you know, I'm going to try and get through this without crying. But afterwards, if you see me over there, it's fine. You guys still share your stories because I do want to hear them. So this is my first dog service, which is probably for most of you all too. And as you know, Oscar was my world. You don't know how he passed away. So he was just diagnosed with an aggressive cancer the week prior. And that must have weakened his bones. So while we were away at the funeral for Owen's brother, Oscar somehow dislocated his hip. And it wasn't just a regular dislocation. He somehow did it like out to the side, in typical Oscar fashion. And then he wasn't a candidate for surgery because of the cancer. And then he also just had a spinal tumor that popped up, and he also had a liver disease. He had copper storage disorder, cirrhosis of the liver, and hepatitis. So he had a lot of things going on. But they did try and put it back in place manually, and it only had a 50% chance of staying, but we tried. And he made it out of the anesthesia, which it wasn't looking too good for a little bit, and I'm like, it got questionable, and with COVID, they're not letting you in. So I'm like, you guys gotta let me in if something goes south, you know. But he made it back home. He made it back home with me. So I'm so happy he did do that. But unfortunately, he just didn't have the strength in his back end to move. And when we did try helping him to move, because his mind was there and he wanted to get up, but it popped back out of place. So anyways, when he was diagnosed with the liver disease, it was about 2 years ago. And I thought that was going to be what was going to take him, where, you know, his organ or liver would just shut down basically. But thankfully we had caught that early because of his tail, and that was actually being under control. But I do want to tell you how quickly this progressed though. So he just had blood work. It was like the end of August because he got it done like every 6 months for his liver. And everything looked pretty good. It was a little elevated, but cancer was not showing up. And then the Halloween party, or Halloween night, so I went trick-or-treating and I came back home, and you know, we always made a big deal when you get home. He had his toys, I'd pet his back, and when I did, he kind of dropped, and I'm like, I didn't think I petted you that hard, but I mean, I know you're getting older. So I'm like, that's weird. So anyways, about 2 days later, I came back home, and then he I made sure I was conscious of it, not to pet him so hard on his back, and he still did a little dip, and I'm like, okay, that's not good. And I thought, well, maybe we had the Halloween class, that morning. I thought, well, maybe his back, or he was sore from working out, even though he's already was semi-retired. Or I thought he just twisted something. So anyways, I made a chiropractic appointment, and that wasn't, everybody's booked up, as you know, for pets. So it was still like a few weeks away, and then I'm like, well, make his, he needed some shots done at the vet, so we did that too. And they were booked out almost 2 weeks away. So at this time, I wasn't thinking anything of it, because all he was showing was just a little bit of a sore back when it was touched. So during that time frame, waiting for the vet, a lump started to appear, and it turned out it was like softball size. So, then I start calling the vet, and I'm like, hey, got any cancellations? Which they didn't, but anyways, we got in, and at that time, the lump was bigger, and his legs started getting weaker. Like he was having trouble getting up, and, he wasn't having as much control. So we got to the vet, and, he had lost a few pounds just from the August visit to, this was the beginning of November. So the vet's like, this isn't looking good. I'm going to get you into the specialist. And of course, that took about 2 weeks, even though they did get us in early. We didn't have to wait too long. But anyways, so they did an MRI. And during that time frame, it was weird. So he started doing better. Like the weak legs, he started getting more strength. He was able to start walking again, because I know you guys saw him in his Oscar mobile, I called it, the little stroller. But then we're going on walks again. But anyways, so the MRI stuff, I think, came back like the following week, which was on Friday. And they told me he had cancer, and it's an aggressive one. And I'm like, what's the time frame? And they said it's probably a week to a few months. And I'm like, oh my gosh, a week? He's doing fine. He's playing. And they're like, we know, but we have to tell you. And at that time, I'm like, okay, so the Friday, a week from that would be his brother's funeral. And I'm like, I don't know, I had a feeling it could be that, but I'm like, he's feeling too good, so I would have never expected that. But anyway, so I took him off his medicine and his prescription diet, which I'm so thankful, because his medicine made him really nauseous. So he was feeling so much better, and he was grabbing his toys again, just being his frisky old self. And he was eating, my mom made food for him, and he was eating good, not having to worry about the restrictions. And actually, the morning of the funeral, he was trying to rub his eye, he was just being naughty, Anyways, that's when we got home, we seen him like that. And the last moments were rough, but I want us to focus on the rest, because he lived a good life, he really did. He traveled, he went paddleboarding, he went to work with me, he had birthday parties, wherever I could take him, he was just happy being with me, and we're celebrating today, right? But anyways, Oscar was always getting the best out of people. He was a great instructor in class and out of class. He trained people when they came over to the house to either bring a cookie, or he showed them where the cookie jar is to give them a cookie. He was a smart dog. He left his mark, his legacy, and actually Owen used to work for Merritt's. It's a big, huge company. If you guys aren't familiar with it, in Fenton, and the owner there, Steve Merritt, he's like, it was bring your dog to work day. So anyways, Oscar's there, and he walks past him, and he's like, it looks like Oscar owns the company, and I should work for him. That's how big of a presence he had. And now we're just kind of trying to come out of his shadow, but he was my shadow. And kind of what is life without Oscar? And I think seeing Leah has been the hardest, because I never realized how much of a busybody he was, or an instigator. He tells them when I'm home. He wasn't the loudest, Leah's the loudest, but he was the one that was active and, controlling the household. And he didn't really have to do much to get them going, but it was just with, a single woof, or sometimes he would distract them with a bark so he could run back to the kitchen while they were busy. So he could get the treat by himself. But really, I guess my question too is, what is fitness with Fido without Oscar? I did want to quit right after it happened. You know, our mission statement is to be there through all life stages of your dogs and to always have a workout partner. And I don't have my workout partner right now. And I know technically I still have Ike and Leah, and they're great. You know, they do good. Leah does the home workouts, and Ike's been kind of taking over since Oscar couldn't work out as much as he aged. But you know, he wasn't only my business partner, he was my best friend. And I saw Ike, it was probably the next day leaving the house, and Ike was ready to go. He thought it was for class, and I'm like, so I gotta keep doing this, you know, for them and for all of you, and so his memory doesn't die and that it lives on. Because I know a lot of other dogs that feel the same way about coming to class, you know, they're like, woohoo! But Oscar, he really did want the best out of people and dogs. He doesn't want us to slack or misbehave just if he's not here, and I'm not gonna let you. He passed that torch on to Ike already. You know, Ike, he's learning the ropes. He still doesn't have that direct stare and bark down. And I can already see it in Vanessa. We're already saying she was like a little Oscar since she's been born, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, because Oscar is pretty demanding, and you know, she kind of is too, as you see her little cheeky smile. And if you know Oscar, he didn't give his cuddles away for free. You know, normally he's like, you want to pet me, I need some treats. But him and Vanessa were already close, and she didn't have any treats to give him, just love. And I wasn't sure how he would take me having a baby, because, you know, he was the baby and he was super spoiled. But she came out and he's like, oh, you're Mini Kim. I can do this. There's two of you. I can dig it. And almost every morning she would go over there and pet his paw. And I think it's partly why she's already crawling around already, because she was following him. And she doesn't do that with Ike and Leah because they see her coming and they're like, time to move. But she fit in perfectly with our pack, just like Ike and Leah did, because Oscar, he'd let you know what he liked and didn't like. And he had a strong spirit and heart, and that will never be forgotten. And you know, like when my loved ones pass, I always like to associate something with them. Like my grandpa's a cardinal, my grandma's a rabbit, my dad's grass, Molly, my older dog, is agility and Goldens. So that way I always remember them. But with Oscar, you know, I haven't exactly decided yet, because so many things remind me of him. You know, he was my heart. But I'd have to say he's probably my shadow, because he's still always with me. And let's see, like I kind of feel guilty now, because I had to give Oscar a proper farewell. You know, now I'm like, I got to do this for my other dogs now? I probably won't be as much to the extreme, like with the programs and everything. But I do plan on starting, I think I'll do like a yearly Dia los Muertos por los Perros, you know, Day of the Dead for the dogs. I think we'll start doing that annually, because I know you guys have all lost, you know, dear dogs. I've seen them on your Facebook page. But anyways, so finish up. So there was 4 things when I got the news. So the first night, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't die yet. But I'm like, all right, we'll just start getting everything in order. So I'm like, you need to get one more bath and freshened up so we can get a photo shoot. And like I had already scheduled something with Dana, and we're gonna do it on Tuesday. Just time got the best of us. And then I wanted one more video, as if I don't have enough videos and photos, but I wanted to do kind of a hospice style, just kind of focused on breath and presence. And didn't get to do that one. He did get his back. And the last thing I really wanted to do was Lap of Love, which is like in-home euthanasia service. And I had everything rolling. I didn't think it was gonna happen actually in a week. And thank God for my vet. He made a house call and came over. He didn't get there till like midnight, because he had stuff with his
wife.
Like, I'll be there, because I'm like, I can't bring him. He was already hard to move, but I'm like, I can't bring him out of the house. And like, you know, so, you know, mainly it was just, I wanted more time. But I did get the chance to say goodbye. And also the Christmas party, I wanted them to have one more party. And that was, you know, the next day. And it was a sucky day, but I think, you know, being on the funeral day, but I think that was the only time we were going to be able to let go. Because all week I just kept telling them, you know, we just have to make it through this week. because then it was all going to be about him. And I think that's really why things happened the way it did. So, anyways, I'm going to open it up to you guys. I made it through all that. I'm proud of myself. And there will be no ever dog like Oscar. But yeah, make sure the video I made, it's in the program, and I'll share the link on Facebook, but make sure you watch it. It's about an hour long, so, schedule it. Maybe grab a couple tissues, but it should be happy. And I do want us to remember him like that, and we're going to keep going for him. So, thanks for coming. Yes.
Proud of you. And myself.
I do feel like this, and if any of your dogs do pass, if you guys, I will start classes back up. I am taking a break, but I think February we'll get going again. But if there's anything, with your dogs, if you ever want to do it, after class or anything, if it's far enough ahead of time, I can schedule it. But, Thursdays, I have this space, so we can always, do a little get together, because I'm sure most of you won't mind not working out, so. And yeah, I do appreciate you guys coming too, because I know a few people wanted to come, and I know COVID kind of rose again, so, but thank you for coming, so, yeah, okay. I'm done.
Love you.
Greg, anybody else?
Does anybody else have any special memory or anything that you would want to say in the larger group context? Obviously, some of the most important things are going to be what you share in the smaller, intimate, private, one-on-one moments even. But if there's anything that anybody wanted to share in this moment, you're welcome to.
Or we can go all around. That's fine. It's a small group.
Or Kim's going to start calling on you.
Yep. As you see, I went above and beyond for him. I'm like, I got to make pictures. I got to make a video. I got to make, Yep. So.
I am going to miss his, I don't remember what it was called. His videos when he wore the hat.
Detective Oscar.
Yes, detective, yes.
Yeah.
This little bear. And
We do have one unreleased version. We just need to edit. So, I still have a ton of footage that I just haven't edited yet.
Yeah.
So, we're still going to see that. At least one more episode of Detective Oscar. Yeah, that was, if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. He only has 2 episodes, but it's super cute. So, what about you, Jean?
Oh, well, I will miss Oscar always cleaning out my treat bag.
Yes.
That was always his job. He'd come up at the end of class, and I'm like, okay, and then this one would be like, I'm like, nope, sorry, that's Oscar's job, so.
And Atticus, he let him. Oscar was bossy. Even with Davika. Davika is, hyper, and he's like, nope. Yep. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Christina, Millie, Sherry.
I think it's the presence that he had. I'm kind of new to this group. I'm kind of like one of the latest newcomers, but he was so, not only regal and stately, but he could have. Can I say this in front of you, Pastor? He could have been a real asshole about things because he was so perfect. That he could have been really bad with these dogs who were not behaving very well. And yet, while he had that, I am here and I am setting the example, and you all need to fall in line. He was also just a real sweetheart and just, took it all in stride. It wasn't, but presence is what I think of when I think.
He was very versatile, which it's funny you say that because, Owen and Oscar's relationship was comical. So we'll say sometimes he treated him like a stepdad. He was like, you're not my dad.
So he could be that.
Yes, he definitely was. Owen would mess with them and then try and poke with them. Oscar put so many holes in his shirts and pants trying to catch him, and every night they would fight over the bed because he's like, Oscar takes up too much room, he keeps spreading out. And then he would come down and he's like, Oscar, get down. So Oscar would just lay down on the bed, like not get down off the bed. Yeah, they had a funny relationship. So yeah, and these two are just like, okay, you know. What about you, Sherry?
I am so forever grateful for our three things. One, meeting you, Oscar and Leah, at Queenie. And it was a wild ride. I knew in St. Louis, and it was so awesome to see a dog community and go to the museum. And, you know, it was gaining confidence with Bailey, and when Oscar and we were in the tennis courts. And the tennis court club, it was really amazing because we were off leash, and Oscar helped Bailey get this amazing confidence where this was better than a cookie, and he just rose and shined. But I think the number one thing is he made you create Fitness with Fido.
Good.
Without Oscar, there would be no us.
That is so true. Yeah, he really did create the company. He really did. Yeah.
And many more, but
Yeah. No, that was all good. Cool. Kelly, you want to share anything? Or?
It's hard to top everything and everyone's set already.
you can't top that guy.
You're right.
Man, I just remember just like how he ran when we were doing the agility classes. Just he was so elegant. Like it just amazed me. He just made it look effortlessly.
And he bite your butt.
Yeah. He's like, you move too slow, I'm gonna catch you.
Kind of tagging off of what she was saying. Just it's totally Oscar to start something that's going to last a long time. You know, here I go, past his lifetime. You know, that's all I can say.
I like that. That's true. That's what I gotta remember, you know. Yeah. What about moms and pops? You wanna share anything?
Grand dog.
Grand dog.
Grand dog.
Yes, thank you. I know he always gave Oscar crap because when he was younger, before I had Leah, Oscar had ponytails, like I'd color him all the time, and he's like, what are you doing to this dog?
Very colorful.
Yes.
It's very friendly.
Very friendly, yep.
Friendly.
All right, let's see. Melanie, you want to say?
Yeah, I would just say the community that he helped build, you know, that's so amazing, and it'll live on, like others have said, and just the wellness aspect for people and animals. It's just, yeah, it's really powerful.
Yep. And I do have to say one thing, like I love how you guys have come, you know, some of you back from the dog museum, some it's just, you know, through the pet careers, like, you know, met a lot of different people along the way, like, so let's see. Joe, you want to share anything? This is actually my mom's boss, and Oscar would come visit her work sometimes, so thank
How old
you
are you?
for coming. Huh?
How old are you?
31.
She was 6 when I met her.
Wow.
Wow.
Was that really?
Yeah, Oscar used to come and visit us at work, and my position was always Oscar's a goofy dog. Because he was like, the only way you could get him to come around was to feed him. But you know, I've had 8 dogs in my life. First one's always the best. I'm here for you. I know what he meant to you. And when, you know, when Samantha, our first golden, went down, it's the only time I cry is when there's a dog. Well, with people too. Dogs hurt more because dogs love you more, in my opinion. And you know, I'm sorry for your loss, and Oscar cannot be replaced. But you are a strong young woman, and there won't be another Oscar, but there will be another. I have faith in your ability to Fitness with Fido will go on. I'm very proud of you for what you've done
Thank you.
with that, and I'm really happy that you put this together. This is truly fitting for some, for Oscar, who is such an important part of your life.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Thank you. That was that was good. All right, Christina, Mom, you guys. Sorry, there are tissues if you need them. Otherwise, any other closing statements from you guys?
He's like the leader of the pack.
He was like
What alphas you had in the room was the alpha.
he was like. I think she has the shirt on you got for underneath her jacket. It says newest member of the pack. But yeah, he was the leader. She was, I can already see a little bit, like I said, with Vanessa, she hung out with them already and, She's like, me?
I had, Oscar was before grandkids. I'm gonna miss making food for him. Because when I made stuff that nobody else likes, chuck roast or any of that stuff, Oscar, I could always make it and share it with Oscar. That's what I did like the week before. I made all his food, everything that he would eat.
Yep. Yeah, because I think it was that Friday she said, she was at Target and she's like, should I get any treats? And this is before the news, like I wasn't ready to share it. And I'm like, just get him whatever he wants. Because normally it was like, you can't have peanut butter, no. And she's like, so then I told her. So she came with some treats the next day. She brought food. So I'm so happy, he ate good that last week. And he had a good week for that last one, at least. So, yeah.
I will have to change because like when I went to their house, you had to have a pocket full of treats. and Ike would only get a couple or you throw it down. Leah really only wanted pets and Oscar got along. So I've been showing up at their house. I could bring one treat. And I've already forgotten a treat. It's like that was a call for. I had them in the thing. But they aren't to treat people. They got it because of Oscar. I mean, Oscar was Oscar.
Like, I know it's been about 2 weeks, but yeah, the first week, they still were just trying to figure it out. But the second week, now they're kind of getting to be like, we're not getting as much food as we used to. They're kind of giving me looks like, because Oscar, like, he was always in the kitchen. We had to carpet the house for him, and the only house that wasn't carpeted was the kitchen. And that's the room he always wanted to be in. And it was funny, so the next day, guess who started crawling into the kitchen? And I'm like, I still have someone to yell at to get out of the kitchen. So yeah, that was pretty funny because I'm like, it's so quiet. Like you go in there before you'd have to like sneak snacks, and now it's like, I can eat this in peace. What? Yeah, that's been a challenge, and that's another thing. So that Friday when I got the news, and it's just funny how things work because I wanted to, shoot the video, but then it was the tornado all within that same week too. So the basement leaked a little bit, so that's, where I shoot the videos if you guys watch them. So that was another thing that kind of put a damper in the schedule. I'm like, So, yes. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to let Greg wrap it up. So.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing what you shared. And I know that just encourages Kim and Owen, and I know that it's an amazingly powerful thing to have a relationship with a dog. There's a quote that's by an author that she was born in the 1800s, lived from 1880s to the 1980s, and she said this: dogs' lives are too short. That's really their only fault. And then Will Rogers said this: if there are no dogs in heaven, then when I die, I want to go where they are. So, Oscar has obviously touched all of you in some way, and it was such a great point that you're together because of Oscar. And that is a powerful thing to say about a dog, but about anybody, that someone could bring other people together. But I know that in this video, if you watch it, you'll see all kinds of things that will be funny and encouraging and perhaps heartbreaking in different ways, but just recognizing the power of a dog to even make a fancy handkerchief around his neck even fancier. Or the ability to just be the best partner for someone even like Owen, who he obviously made holes in his clothes playing soccer and basketball with Owen when Owen couldn't find a friend to play with. So that's the thing about dogs. They're faithful. They're loyal. We love that because we often miss that in people relationships sometimes, and so we value that so much. But I think that one of the things that I just want to leave you with, because the stories can continue to be part of the healing journey and part of what really is powerful in celebrating and honoring a dog, but just even honoring Oscar, that's powerful to do. However, I think the thing that we also want to validate is the heaviness of grief in the loss of a pet. And in our culture, we already don't give people enough time really to grieve. We say, hurry up, get over it. It's been 3 days, you should be back at work. Or you even say to yourself, it's been a few months, I should be better in this particular grief. Well, the thing is, the pain of a loss and death, it never really goes away. The intensity of it lessens, for sure, but it's always there. And you can't replace someone who is gone. Someone like Oscar. Anybody that's you, the animals that you've had to say goodbye to, or the people in your life that you've had to say goodbye to. You can't replace them. They always have a space there. But the thing that is most important, I think, in going through the grief process and invalidating the grief even in a loss of a pet, is to make sure you're having self-compassion. Just like a dog would be probably one of the most compassionate persons in your grief process, have that for yourself. In other words, don't say to yourself, why am I still feeling this way? Or why don't I feel this emotion? Or how did I get over that so quickly? Or why is, when I see that particular thing a year down the road, does it all of a sudden cause tears to come to my eyes? I should be over this. Well, you don't get over it. Instead, what you should say to yourself, instead of saying, what's wrong with me? You should say, of course, I feel like this. I had a great relationship. I was loved, and I loved. And so say, of course. Use that in your life in general more. Have self-compassion and allow yourself the space to feel what you need to feel. There's no timetable on grief. There's no way it has to look. And you are, like Kim said, you are her people.
Fido tribe.
Because you're at a dog's memorial service. Yes, she's feeding you. I know that's part of why you probably... No. You're not Oscar. You're here because you want to be here, not because of the food. But that's the thing that's powerful, is community and connection. And so, on behalf of Kim again, and Owen, and Vanessa, who had a really great big brother in Oscar, and Marilyn, who's grand dog, and you're a grand dog. On behalf of them, thank you for validating this pain and this loss, and thank you for your support and your encouragement and your celebrating. Keep telling the stories. Don't be afraid of causing some tears because you bring up Oscar's name, because sad is not bad. Tears can be healing. So allow that to just be what occurs, and don't let them think you forgot about Oscar because you stopped talking about him. And I know you'd feel the same way for your pets too. So I'm just going to say a brief prayer, and then we'll be finished, and you can eat and hang out and have a good time together. So I'll just say a prayer. Our God, I thank you for Oscar, for his life. I thank you for the impact that he's had on this family and on all these people in this community and other dogs and on the world. And I just thank you for the fact that we could take this moment to honor this particular being, this soul that has been in this world. And we just ask that you would help us in our time of grief, and that you will also enable us to have health and to be safe. And we just pray, God, too, that you would continue to allow us to have great relationships with these pets that make our world so much more special. We thank you for all this in your name. Amen. 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 Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome.
Yeah, and make sure, you know, you guys get a button or a bookmark or a program, because I finished that all today. Because last week I'm like, I can't work on any of this, so it was all last minute stuff. But it turned out nicely, but yeah.